Hello, everybody. Welcome to this Utopian Global presentation. It has been quite some time, and it is wonderful to connect with all of you here live from beautiful Dubai. This is Claudia here hosting this presentation together with our founder and CEO, Bill Rao, who is actually in the office right now. I'm not in the office. I'm actually just wanted to show you the beautiful fountain. And I don't know if you guys see that. Just some nice Dubai vibes. That's what I wanted to show you. So, and I hope that you're all doing well. It has been quite some time that we connected. So let me just admit while more people here, while we are getting ready to get started. So with that, I want you to just actually hand over now to Bill Rao, the CEO of Utopian Global. We're going to go ahead with the presentation. Just give you an update about CASHETS, what we have been doing all this last 12 months. And we want to, of course, as well do some Q&A. We have some questions which came in. So we will try to answer questions, of course, as the time allows, because there's some other meetings which we have after this presentation. So if the questions are not being answered, just very simple, go to support or send us an email to support@utopianglobal.com and these will be answered. So with that, I am going to give the panel up to you, Bill. So just bear one moment. So I just need to get to you and find you here and then hand it over. All right, I'm gonna make you host. Yes. There you go. Bill, it is all yours and you can share your screen. And first of all, it's really fantastic that we are having you back online. You have done a lot of presentation in the meanwhile, not maybe so public, but to individuals and individual groups, of course, throughout the last year. So it's good to see you on a global webcast again. Bill, the word is yours.
Well, hi, Claudia. Good afternoon to you. And good afternoon to everyone, or good morning, no matter where you are in the world, but welcome to our call today. Yes, I'm here in downtown Dubai at our office at present. Yes, the reason I wanted to do this call, each week we have meetings with our support team, and they say, we often ask, okay, what's working, what's not working, what questions are coming in, which is really important key information, isn't it, to understand what's happening on the front line. And primarily, a lot of the questions were coming in, and feedback was, okay, how does Utopian Global generate the yield through CASHETS? So we've had this question going on for some time. So I thought I would do a short presentation on that and then respond to questions at the end. Primarily, when we started CASHETS, we had two sources of our income that were going to generate revenues for the CASHETS token. One was through the SASCO, was through a mine. You may have seen in previous reports, we spoke about the mine, the silica mine. Unfortunately, that we have forward sale contracts for that, which is fantastic. But what's all going on in Europe with the energy costs? Obviously, the production of going live in the mine has been delayed, which is okay. That's fine. We still have the forward sale contracts on that. So our main focus, primarily the last 18 months, and especially since the last year, has really been on the precious stones. Many of you who have known me for many years know I've traveled throughout Africa, which I enjoy very much, meeting the people. And at the end of 2020, early 2021, I did quite a trip through Angola in Africa. I traveled 1,500 kilometers across the country, traveled with some members there who had been experienced working there for the last 40 years. One's a South African, very experienced in this area. Claudia is familiar with Mr. Mohammed. We met the people who work the mines and different things. Primarily, it's generational, which is really nice. And so I wanted to share a bit of this presentation because, you know, when you're out in the world where people come to you or call you, you might get a cold call saying, listen, I've got a great opportunity for you, and you're going to earn, estimate X, Y, Z. People might say, oh, it's got to be a scam. How can they achieve such high margins like that? It's not possible, because the traditional mind of traditional investing is much lower than that. So primarily our business model is all about the value chain that we're involved in, the supply chain. for the mining process, adding value all the way through to the retail process in one sense. And I'll also explain about the partners who are involved in that. But let me give you a bit of a summary, because many people may never have been involved in precious stones. And I'll just tell a brief story. Actually, when I was in Uganda quite a few years back, I had a business partner said, you have to meet these people, you must meet these people. I was at the Sheraton in Kampala, beautiful overlooking the city of Kampala, and these gentlemen turn up and open up a handkerchief and got these stones, rough stones in front of me, and they told me they were diamonds. At that time, 4 or 5 years ago, if I had seen this on the road, I probably would have kicked them, just thinking they were broken glass or something. I had zero idea about the world of precious stones, and they wanted to sell them to me at a discount price. And I said, no, I'm not interested, because I don't know what I'm buying, therefore I'm not going to touch it. Anyway, during 2020, during the lockdown here in Dubai, I got to meet some business people. And this is where I met a particular business person, and he'd been in this industry for 40 years. And it was intriguing what I learned from him. So to back test what he was telling me, I said, okay, you tell me this, let's go to Angola. He said, will you come? I said, of course, let's book the tickets. You're telling me these things can happen on the supply chain. We can help the people back there in these villages, and we can help, and we can bring business here, because I'm licensed and regulated to deal with precious stones and precious metals. And if you tell me what you're telling me is truth, let's go and verify it. I'll come with you. So he was a bit surprised. So I booked tickets, and we flew to Angola, and spent time there. And that's how I was introduced to the world of precious stones in that way. But let me just read through this too, to give a bit of history about this industry, because this was relatively, even though I've been licensed to this industry for a long time, I never really focused on precious stones. I focused on precious metals. But it says here, in the 1st century AD, the Roman naturalist Pliny stated, diamond is the most valuable, not only of precious stones, but of all things in this world. Maybe we can debate that. But anyway, that's what he said. As a commodity, diamonds are one of the world's most value assets by weight. I believe that, which above ground value is over 1.5 trillion, which is a significant industry, which I must say I had no idea what this industry was about. So I learned a lot, certainly in the last 5 years. What I'm going to show you now, I'm just going to show you who we work with, because when we bring the raw material, let's say the rough stones, we actually bring them into Dubai. We buy them, we actually analyze them, we buy them. And I just want to show you the factory that we work out of here in Dubai at the Diamond and Gold Park here. Let me just share this a bit.
There's no music playing, Bill, but I think this is the audio, which is, but it's okay. I think people can see. This is actually in the diamond factory. Not sure if you have your image there, but this is actually you, or this was actually filmed. We have this also, if you want to see that on video on our YouTube channel. If you go to the YouTube channel of Utopian Global, this is where you will find also the full video of that. So just because the sound is right now not working, I guess, on your side, Bill, but that's fine. So people can review that.
Yeah, this is the company we deal with, and yes, you're correct, Claire. I actually interviewed the director of this particular factory maybe a year and a half ago, which we made available on YouTube. So that's who we work with. I mean, these people have been experts in this field at this particular factory for 20 years. The people who are involved with Angola have been involved for 40 years. Some of the cut and polishes are there, as Josh, for example, Claudia, who you know, he's been cut and polishing stones for over 40 years. So it's I must say they have my respect. It's quite a remarkable craft, and up until this point, I had really zero knowledge in this. But as an investor, as a person that builds a business, I actually enjoyed to learn this craft and work with these caliber of people, because I certainly couldn't do it by myself. So what we primarily do, we supply a chain. We want to be able to value add to a supply chain. So we start from the rough stones and precious stones, of course. We sort, we verify, we analyze, and then we purchase. We then go to manufacturing, cut and polishing. Then we send them to a third party to be certified at the labs, whether it's maybe Antwerp, which many of you people may even be from Antwerp on this call, or it could be actually even in New York as well. And then, of course, it's moved on to the wholesale jewelry and retail market. We're working together with local suppliers whom for generations have toiled the riverbeds to harvest the earth's wonders. What I really liked about meeting these people, down to earth, hardworking, good people, but this is one thing that stood in my mind. Our family cannot eat stones. And in this industry, there's a lot of judgment. If you're not involved, there's a lot of judgment. Is it right? Is it wrong? Is it the correct thing to do? But when you go to visit these places, when you're actually boots on the ground yourself and see how these people live and see how that they feed their families, and that's a natural resource that Mother Earth provides to them. That's what they harvest. And they need us to bridge the gap between their world and the Western world, who are the consumers of these types of products, to be able to put bread and butter on their tables. So this is primarily what we're doing, which I enjoy very much, this part, working with these people, because they're good people. Yeah, so we work through skilled exploration to specialized manufacturing professionals, where we add value from the miners through to the eventual highly liquid retail market, where we all get to share in the profit. So primarily, this is just a profit share in the value chain that we're in. A very simple concept, not rocket science. But of course, you must make sure you're working with the right people, because if you're not, you'll get scammed. It's a highly competitive, and there's so many frauds and fakes out there as well. So you definitely need to know what you're buying. If you don't buy right, you're burnt at the very first step. So this is primarily a time cycle that we do. And again, the whole idea of this, we just move this out of the road. The whole idea of this presentation is to give you a time frame of how things work and how we can actually achieve our particular margin. So as you can see here, the return on the investment generally is 120 days. Okay, we do this multiple times throughout the year. So we buy a rough diamond parcel. We sort and analyze. This might take 5 to 7 days with the people. Within, of course, purchase it. We go to manufacturing commences, and that's going to be about cut and polishing and cleaning. It's going to be about another 45 days. Then after that, we of course go to the diamond certification, which may have to go to GIA New York. That's takes much longer, or we send it to HRD Antwerp. Many of the, depending on the stones and your buyers, many of them prefer the GIA. I don't know why, but that's what I'm told. So we sort, analyze, at the time depends on the rough parcel quantity. It's conducted by minimum of 3 professionals, and collectively, as I said, many of these people have over 40 years experience in the game. And we also have analysis equipment which we bought from Israel as well, which is can depict the colors, the clarities, and things like that. Anyway, you get that. This image here on the outside, that's the rough stone shape. That's actually the rough stone shape that you can, let me just silence it down, that you can actually see. And what we do is when we put it into this analysis, it'll actually analyze the stone and advise you which is the best shape to be able to get the maximum yield out. And generally, you lose about 50% of the stone in cut and polishing. Okay, so it'll analyze the rough shape of the stone, because every stone has its own particularly unique shape. And then, of course, we want to be able to maximize the yield for that, to maximize our returns for the people who are working in the supply chain. So this is primarily what we do. This is one part of the equipment that we actually do. So it's a simple process. We take our rough stones and we add value to them by cut and polishing them, and then taking them to the retail market. This stone here, this green one here, which I have, it's a beautiful diamond. This one, we just put this one into a ring. Actually, it's just going off tomorrow for its certification, which is that's going to be very nice. This one, fancy green. Okay, so this is some of the examples of the HRD in Antwerp. They actually, of course, analyze the diamond and the diamonds surrounding it, the pointers, the gold, and they give you a full certificate. And primarily buyers, they buy from looking at the certificates. That's the first point where they actually go to. Okay. We also have GIA. But what I want to do is to show you some numbers. This is an example. Okay. And I hope this makes some clarity on for people so they understand how we generate our yield. Now, in the end, I've sent here the return on investment is 10%. Okay, but the time cycle is 120 days. So if that's the case, we can see that we can generally make our 30 to 40% per year if we're doing multiple purchases per year. And at the moment, I think our average CASHETS returns around about a bit over 23% from mature contracts, and that'll fluctuate up and down a bit depending on the actual cycle. But as an example, we have a parcel here of 87 carats. The average price per carat was $1,350. So the total package was $117,000. The cut and polish estimated yield is 42.63 carats, which is about 49%. So we've lost 51% in the cut and polishing. And our estimated returns, we paid 117,000 for what we can believe we can sell it for as cut and polish, for not even going into rings. You may get between 150 to 170,000, depending on that, depending on the market at that particular time. So on the investment side, just to show you how the numbers work, we invested 117,450. We're offering a return of, let's say, the 10%, which is 11,745. It's a 120-day cycle for the whole process to happen. That's an APY of, let's say, 40%. Okay, and these are the estimated prices that we can sell it for gross before overheads, of course. I mean, you have to go pay for the diamond cut and polishing, diagnostics, manufacturing, GIA, HRD certification. To give you an idea, just to send some stones to New York, even just one stone will cost you probably, with let's say Ferrari logistics, it may cost you $3,500 just to send one stone for them just for certification. So some areas there is quite a high cost to do it, but this is how we achieve our particular margin. This is really important, asset protection, because in most investments people do, let's say, especially in the token world, you buy a CASHETS token. CASHETS token has a valuation, and based on that and the agreement that you've signed, you're entitled to a yield from that particular token. The most important thing, which I think me as an investor, and probably yourselves as well, is that you want to know that the principles is protected. Okay, the returns and the yield can vary because markets vary, correct? Nothing's guaranteed. But the most important thing is you want to know is that your principal is protected in one sense. So the insurance policy for the inventory that we buy is very, very important. And I think for us to lose money, we could certainly lose money on the yield because markets do change. Well, they've made a mistake on the buying. We could lose money on the yield. But in essence, we have those precious stones in our hands. We have real value, which we have something to sell to the market. So that protects the investment in one side. Okay. The word diamond comes from the Greek word adamas, which means indestructible, unlike the paper currency counterparts, which are backed by nothing and quantitatively expanding into self-destruction. Well, being involved in precious metals, this is really my main subject, is the monetary system that we actually live under. And this is why I like to work with hard assets. Paper may go to zero, paper may lose value, high inflation. We've seen what's happened, as it says here, of the United States 240-year history, 80% of US dollars have been printed in just the last 2 years. Many people here on this call would probably remember their local currency going from, let's say, Deutschmark to the euro, or the French franc to the euro. We look at the loss of purchasing power since that time. It's been significant. I know that myself because I was living in Germany at the time, and I purchased a new 5 Series BMW. I think it was the end of the 1990s, 98, I think it was, which cost, let's say, would have been 50,000 Deutschmarks. And today, the same car probably costs 60,000 euros, which is more than double the price. So I think people in Europe would certainly understand the cost of living has significantly increased, and it's really a reflection of our paper currency. And this is why we deal with ourselves. We've always dealt with real assets, and the basis of that was precious metals when I founded the Swiss company back in 2008. So the foundation for Utopian Global Company was a Swiss company dealing with precious metals back in 2008. Okay, we need to have certain requirements. Of course, we need to meet the anti-money laundering regulations. This is getting very strict. International banking is getting very, very difficult, I must say. It's very difficult. It's changed so much in the last years, even here in Dubai, I must say. I've been a resident in Dubai for the last, what is it now? It's going on 7 years. And even the last 1 or 2 years, we've had significant change. So everyone being compliant with KYC AML is really, really important, providing your details, maybe proof of address, because the banks ask questions. They want to know, even the crypto exchanges here, you want to do a payout, they want to know that the people are KYC AML. Even if we're paying you, they often ask us who you're paying. Do you have these people? Which we all think in the crypto world, everything is not the case. It's kosher, but in many cases it's not. They want to know everything, and we need to comply with that, because our biggest risk, I think, in this world is actually a lot of its regulation, restricting movement. And of course, on our side, we have the terms of agreement. It's just my details, and we have a valid multi-commodities centre trade license for these particular products. So that's primarily what I wanted to present, Claudia. So it's a quick summary of how we actually what products we're involved in to actually generate the yield and the time cycle of that. So maybe there's some questions that people may like to ask. Anything regarding Utopian Global and CASHETS, of course.
Thank you, Bill, very much. And I'm not sure if you see, actually, there's some people who wanting to enter, because I can't see it on my side. Maybe on your side, sometimes the Zoom plays around. So if you just check, there's people actually in the waiting list, would be nice. Yes, indeed. I mean, you said banking regulation, it's getting hard. Even myself, in terms of accounts, even here in Dubai, you get asked all those questions, and you need to basically disclose every withdrawal you're doing or every pay-in you're doing. It's unbelievable. So this is only getting harder. And of course, we see more and more those crypto exchanges, decentralized exchanges coming out. But still, eventually, everything has to be is going to be regulated. There's a very, very difficult way how to escape that, and so that is probably one of the biggest concerns, as you said, and some of the questions as well when people asking, well, Claudia, how does it work? So I'm sending the money in. How much is basically my maximum I can send? Why does it take so long? Things like that. And so how secure I am that it arrives. I mean, so all those questions. And I got a lot of questions. I have a group out of England. Actually, I do a Monday webcast with, and for them it's all about banking. They want to be outside the banking. They want to be basically not really anymore so much being involved in having to deal with banks. And so it's, me too, but it's not an easy process. Of course, there's lots of challenges, of course, because we somehow still are dependent on banks in one sense. We don't really want it, but, we still are, because we need to somehow fund our accounts and so on. And so the same, of course, applies to Utopian Global. Maybe you have some answers to them. What would you tell those people? Because those are the questions I always get, especially in those Monday calls. Claudia, what can we do? We don't want to deal with banks.
Claudia, okay. I don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to go to a banking meeting myself in 1 hour from now. It's about balance and diversification, and just being honest. I mean, we live in a world where we have obligations and laws that we pay taxes and things, and we must do that. If you're trying to avoid that, it's illegal. Simple as that, correct? And me as the company director and CEO, it's up to me that we meet the regulations and laws. It's very, very important, because the last thing we want to do is to get shut down and everything frozen. That would be a nightmare. We've just been through a compliance audit the last months. New regulations came into play here in January this year, and that's one of my meetings I got later this afternoon. And the good thing is, why, even though we had some issues, let me just tell the people what the issue was. A lot of this issue came from some people, knowingly or unknowingly, they sent funds by bank wire to buy products and services with Utopian Global. In the end, some people didn't buy anything. They just went straight to a payout to Bitcoin, or they bought a product one day, the next day they sold back and did a payout straight to Bitcoin. So they funded with bank wire, and then they wanted to take a payout by Bitcoin. Of course, that's illegal under international anti-money laundering regulations. And because the auditors discovered this, it's caused quite a few issues for us, and that's why there was some delays on certain things. But the good thing is, with us, they came to realize that every person inside our ecosystem of Utopian Global, everyone, is KYC AML approved, meaning that we have people's, obviously government issued ID, etc. So they're confident with us because of that. But sometimes when these things happen, as I said, people do things knowingly or unknowingly. It can trigger things, which affects all of us. Okay, so I'm not against banks. It's a world we live in, but creating wealth, we need to have liquidity. Correct? Liquidity is the key thing. And with inflation going on in the world, we certainly need to be able to generate higher yields, and how we hold those our wealth. I think assets, hard assets, is a good thing. Liquidity is another issue, of course. So primarily it's okay. I just wanted to speak about that. These are the issues that are cool. But any other specific questions
Yes,
that we
Bill.
may have that people mentioned through to you, Claudia?
Yes, Bill.
I can't see them.
Karen. Yes, can you see me? Yeah. Karen was actually asking if regarding taxes. So once, of course, they get their CASHETS and their yield, and they get paid out, what about the taxes?
Well, I'm sorry to say there's a couple of certainties in life, and probably one is death and the other one's taxes. Again, it's depending on, I'm not here to give people a financial advice or legal advice, but depending upon, we all live in different countries, correct? So UAE law is very different here on taxes as it may be in Belgium, maybe in Germany, or maybe Australia, or the UK, etc. So you really need to seek. But if you are actually generating an income, you're meant to declare that, correct? The only way to minimize that is maybe to hold your account, your Topian Global account, under some form of business entity. At least you could write off all your business expenses, maybe your home office, maybe some of your phone stuff and things like that, maybe some of your car for your networking and expenses that you generate. And then the last person that gets paid is the tax man. But if you're an individual and you're declaring, the first person that gets paid is the tax man, correct? If you're an income earner in that sense. So I would just advise to get professional advice on that. But yes, taxes are a thing that we all must pay.
And Bill, there's quite some questions regarding the payout plans and the referrals and so on. And so we're going to do a separate presentation on referrals, how to refer, how to earn through that, and all of that. That's not going to be included in this one. It wasn't even meant to be for. It was really just meant to give you some updates on, of course, what we have doing here regarding the diamonds and CASHETS. So we're going to host a separate presentation to that. Because there's quite a few questions which I'm getting as well, of course, from the email system. So other than that, there's no other questions which I see here in the chat, at least. Probably they're coming in through different other avenues. So Bill, I know you need to go to another meeting.
It's okay, Claudia. Let me just touch on. I've got a couple of minutes, then I must go. Of course, I don't want to be late. Just on the whole ecosystem of Utopian Global, I always say, do not underestimate the power of the network. You know, I was introduced to this concept of network marketing, the power of the network, back in the 1990s, and I just fell in love with it. I was a business owner. I owned hotels in Australia at that particular time. Understanding the power of the network, working with a smart community, and think of the cost to get involved with the power of our network. Here, it's very cost effective. It's primarily no risk, correct? But if you work together, you leverage together, the power of compounding your money, then turning that money into an asset which can give you further residual income yield, is a very, very powerful way. I always refer people to the website 45second.com. Read the book from Don Failer. There's a free chapters there. The first 4 chapters, I think, are free. I encourage everyone to read those chapters, because if you understand the power of the network and how you can compound your time, you'll never do anything else in your life. That's what I've been doing since the 1990s. I love it. And so I congratulate everyone here that's involved in it. That's 45second.com. But with that, I must go, because I've got to go to this meeting. We can schedule another one for next week or the week after, Claudia, but we're going to get back into doing a cycle of webcasts. It's really important. We've been sidetracked a lot with this audit the last 4 or 5 months, but thanks you to everyone. Thank you for your trust. Any questions that you may have or haven't been answered today, as Claudia said, please reach out to us. And even you need to have a group call, we can arrange that as well. It's not a problem. So thank you so much, and thank you for your participation. Thank you, Claudia.
Thank you so much, and thank you, everybody, and I see you on the next one.